Hello, everyone. Welcome to Touchdown on TrueSports, brought to you by Pickups, your everything-on-demand delivery app. My name is Chantel Alicia, and I'm going to be your host for today's show. Joining me are my analysts, Nolan Kangas, Luca Moya, and Stephen Clennon. Today, we're going to be giving you the details of Week 3 and what's upcoming for Week 4. So let's start by talking about last night's game. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I was expecting this game to have me on the edge of my seat, and it just didn't. So, Stephen, start us off and fill us in on what happened there.
I don't even know if I can say too much about this game. This game was a straight beatdown to me from what I saw. Mahomes and the rest of the Chiefs out there, they looked magnificent. They didn't look like they could be stopped on drives when they were going down the field. I thought maybe the Baltimore defense had more in them and were going to show up, but it's like Mahomes is just that wonder kid, and 2-3 passes down the field. Next thing you know, it's a touchdown. And he was just keeping them fast and keeping them coming. And that Baltimore offense couldn't keep up the whole time. It kind of showed you the difference in how the two teams lie for the rest of the season and going forward. It just seems like that Kansas City offense is just too potent and too dangerous to even slow down for 1 second.
Yeah, I was sort of thinking the exact same thing. For me, I know it's one game and I know it's early. Baltimore won't be in the AFC Championship game. They need more playmakers. Hollywood Brown, I get it. He has some speed. His route tree is so limited and he's so small. If he gets a physical corner against him, or imagine Tyrann Mathieu coming down, it's game over. And Lamar doesn't have the touch yet to find him in those tight spots. So for me, Mark Andrews had some big drops. We know, again, Hollywood, like I mentioned, didn't have those solid plays that we usually see from him. But for me, once you're down, your key is running the ball, and he didn't run the ball enough. Just go quarterback power. Just get Lamar outside and let him run. Because when he was running, they were finding success. But when he dropped back, that's where he kind of found some issues and tried to force some throws there. So for me, right now, Kansas City is an absolute step ahead. They are the top-notch team in the National Football League. And I don't think I'm ever going to bet against Patrick Mahomes, again, unless there's no Tyreek Hill, no Kelsey, no Clyde Edwards-Helaire, right? Like, that's how, it was a statement game last night.
I've been laughing here for the last 2 minutes, and I don't want to be that guy, but I told you guys this was going to happen. No matter what's going on with Lamar and his legs and all that, it's still a quarterback-driven league and how well you control the football. And we saw a clear gap between Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. Nolan, you touched on it. This is a team that runs the football. They are built to, be ahead in games. Once they get down, that kind of takes their whole offense out of the game. You can't run the football when you're down 17 points. You got to drop back and throw. There's no reason for play action. Defense is not going to step up at that point. So you lose another element to your game. And Lamar Jackson, he has taken some strides for sure. He is better than a lot of people thought he was coming out of Louisville. But throwing the football is still a weakness for him. He needs to work on that if he wants to be, a big player in this league. Yeah, he has an MVP. But he says his main goal is to win a Super Bowl. You're not going to do that if you're going to run the football. And if you're down by 17 points, try to get back in the game, especially against that Chiefs team. Chiefs, they can come back from behind. They're that powerful. They're that quick. They can strike on offense in a second. We've seen it before. I don't think Baltimore can do that just yet. Lamar still has a lot to improve on. There's a clear gap, guys, between Kansas City and Baltimore. The AFC, I agree with you, Nolan. I don't think Baltimore is going to be there either. I think it's going to be their division partner, the Steelers, but we're going to touch on that maybe a little bit later. But Kansas City looks like the clear favorites right now in the AFC.
Definitely agree with you guys there. I mean, they definitely showed what they're capable of, not only in the Super Bowl just this past winter, but they're clearly ahead of the game now. So, guys, there was a lot of great matches on Sunday. So let's talk about the big W's of Week 3. I'll get us started off. So my big W for Week 3 was the 49ers. And I know you guys keep hearing me week after week bring up the 49ers. I was confident that they were going to pull through and win this game, but I did not expect it to be a blowout. I mean, they're missing some key players, and they still managed to really hand it to the Giants. Their rookie quarterback, Nick Mullins, he played a really, really good game. He had 4 touchdowns. So he's definitely a player of the game for me. And I have to give a high five to Coach Shanahan for doing a great job with this kid. I'm really rooting for them. So, Steven, who's your big W for week 3?
So looking down the list of my big W's, I couldn't really pick anything like hardcore connect, but I looked and I saw, you know what? A lot of these young wide receivers that were picked up in the draft, a lot of them came out and had some solid weeks this week. If we look, Justin Jefferson on Minnesota, Nolan, your guy, he came out, he was a gangbuster. 175 yards, 7 receptions, and a touchdown. This was his breakout week. If you're looking for somebody in fantasy and he might be on the waiver wire, I think he's a good pickup because that kid's going to get solid work the rest of the season. After that, I looked around. Chantel, you were just talking about San Francisco. I think Brandon Ayuk, he came out and kind of had that little breakout game himself. He might not have got a reception touchdown as a wide receiver, but he was able to run one in, and he would look like he was all over the field. Shanahan came out, put him in different situations just to get him involved and get him to score. So that was a good look for him too. And last, I'll talk about T. Higgins down there in Cincinnati. It looked like him and Joe Burrow had a bit of a connection in the red zone. 2 touchdowns. He had 5 catches for 40 yards. Nothing too crazy, but it looked like he was involved in the offense, and that's where their future is going to be. Their future is not necessarily going to be an A.J. Green who's aging out. It's going to be with Joe Burrow and T. Higgins. So it was nice to see a connection between them. But all across the league, it looked like these rookie wide receivers are putting in a bit of work this past week. And so I want to say a lot of them are my big winners for the week.
Hey, if the Bengals get an offensive line, man, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and Joe Burrow for a long time, that is going to be dangerous. For me, nobody really expected this team to be dangerous, but they are my winner. How about the Chicago Bears, guys? Down 26-10 to the Atlanta Falcons. And guess what? You don't have to deal with Mitchell Trubisky probably ever again because you have Nick Foles. Maybe it's just for a year. Still, you're 3-0 right now. I can't see this team being a playoff team. Maybe they squeak into a wild card spot because their defense is still pretty good. But now it's kind of set in stone. They're done with Trubisky. He's out the door. The Bears fans don't have to suffer with, okay, maybe they'll still suffer with those jokes that they passed on Mahomes and passed on Watson to take this guy. But when the draft comes around next year, guys, they're going to be taking a quarterback. Trubisky's going to be gone. Whether Nick Foles is there or not, just a feeling of still being 3-0 and having quarterback issues now settled that Nick Foles is your guy, a Super Bowl champion and a Super Bowl MVP for that matter too. So I think Bears fans can still be a little bit happier than usually they are.
I agree with you, Nolan. I think that's a great pick. I still think they're going to be losers for the next decade after they pass on Watson and Mahomes. But, I mean, they're looking pretty good right now. For me, my big winner is a player who has yet to touch the field, and that's Jalen Hurts. Guys, you see Carson Wentz. That Eagles offense, they're a disaster. You can't be – okay, first off, you can't be tying the Bengals. I mean, they saved themselves. I got you. I got all that. But this is a team that they need to contend. They are so lucky that they're in a division that they are in because really you can win 8 games and win that division. And that's saying something in the NFL now. No team in that division is going to get in by a wild card. It's either division or bust for every 4 of those teams, and Philly's just lucky. But for Jalen Hurts, the way Carson Wentz is playing, they took him in the second round of this year's draft, looked great in Oklahoma under Lincoln Riley, put him in the right offense. Doug Peterson, with all those weapons they have on offense, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Jalen Hurts sooner rather than later in this season. The way that Wentz is playing, I saw a stat today, guys. If Russell Wilson do 46 straight interceptions, he'd still have a better quarterback rating than Carson Wentz. That's how bad he has been playing. That is how bad he's been playing. You cannot do that from a guy who was probably – he would have won the MVP a couple seasons ago if he didn't get injured, to now that drop-off, it just cannot happen. If you're an Eagles fan, you are probably livid right now. I know about all the injuries and things like that, but Jalen Hurts, I think he's a huge winner. I know his team's been losing, but we can see him on the field sooner rather than later.
I definitely think you're right about that. So, guys, let's discuss the big L's of week 3. To be honest, there were a handful of teams that I really wanted to win that didn't win. But number 1 on my list was Atlanta. The Falcons, I mean, they were killing it the first half of the game. Like, they scored their first touchdown in under a minute. Like, they were completely dominating until the end of the third quarter. And then they completely blew it in the fourth. The defense, fell asleep. I mean, they ended up throwing an interception, right? And I think that's what just, they practically lied down and rolled over, and Chicago just handed it to them. I mean, with 2 minutes left then in the game, they had the opportunity and it was gone. So it's like no luck at all so far for Atlanta Falcons this year. And like by the end of the game, I was just so disappointed. And Chicago is actually my third favorite team, so it was nice to see them win. But Atlanta should have had that game. So Steven, who's your big L of Week 3?
Yeah, Chantel, like you said, Atlanta's horrible. I thought last week was bad against Dallas. Oh man, how do you guys top yourselves again? That's what two. I think they were up 15 or more points back to back going in the fourth quarters, and you give up those. Oh, Atlanta, you're horrible. But that kind of leads into my losers of the week. My losers of the week are all these coaches who aren't first-year coaches of these 0-3 teams. So we're gonna look at a couple. I'm talking about Dan Quinn at Atlanta. Boy, that hot seat, that seat doesn't even exist for him no more. He's pretty much out the door. I know he's a player's coach. A lot of the players on that team like him, and he does a lot for the community. But what have you brought to the field? 7-9 in back-to-back years coming into this season, you're 0-3. Doesn't seem like you're going up. It seems like it's trending negatively, and he's probably out the door sooner rather than later. After that, we got to look at Adam Gase. I don't really want to talk about this guy. I don't really want to talk about the Jets. I'm going to keep it moving.
Yeah.
That's straight doo-doo. Straight doo-doo. After that, we're going to take a look at Bill O'Brien from Houston. Boy, oh boy, you're looking back on your past choices and you're regretting a lot of what you did right now. I see DeAndre Hopkins balling. Everything looks good. They might have taken a loss this week, but it doesn't feel like Arizona really lost. It feels like they're still winning. They're still doing some damage. But Bill O'Brien, what are you going to do with yourself? It's too much on your plate, being the GM, being the coach. Keep up with something, man. Stick with one, stick with the other. It doesn't look like you're that type of guy that can handle both. You haven't been doing a great job. Last but not least, I don't really want to hate on Mike Zimmer, but I got to throw a little bit of shade his way, just a tiny bit of shade Mike Zimmer's way. He's supposed to be a defensive coach, and this defense is supposed to be playing at that level. It doesn't look like they're that great on the defensive side of the ball right now, and to me, that hurts Mike Zimmer's stock on that team. That offense definitely started clicking this week, but the defense, still kind of shaky. They're on their way up. You know what? A lot of teams who start 0-3 can't come back and make it to the playoffs. I'm interested to see if one of these four coaches can get their game and their team straight and make a run all the way through. But those guys are my losers for now.
Yeah, it's tough, man. Mike Zimmer, like you mentioned, defensive coach, and he's coaching up the second worst defense in football right now. It's tough in Minnesota, man. But you mentioned it's not too tough in Arizona, but I think it's actually tough for the chances of MVP chances, for that matter, for Kyler Murray, guys. And I think it was, I know we're going to talk MVPs in a second too, but Russell Wilson, Josh Allen, Kyler Murray was right there after week 2. You lose to the Lions? The Lions are one of the worst defenses in football, and 2 touchdowns with 3 picks, 65% completion percentage. This is a team who you should have absolutely steamrolled by double-digit points. And Matt Stafford, and I get it, I think he has 29 game-winning drives since 2011 or something ridiculous. But this stuff can't be happening. This is a team that's supposed to be on the rise and supposed to be maybe making a run at potential the postseason. I get they're a young team. Their defense is still really shaky. But to the Lions, come on. Like, that's a really ugly game. And Murray's chances just kind of went out the window because, Wilson has just been dominating like he has been.
I'm going to stick with the coach's theme, what Steven said. And I know, Nolan, you're going to be excited about this one. My loser, Sean Payton. 4th down. They stopped them. 2nd down. The momentum is on your side. Who comes into the game, Nolan? Who comes into the game? Taysom Hill. Nothing. Sometimes I sit at home, I'm like, I can coach an NFL team. I can do it. I can do it with that talent. I'm like, why is number 7 under center once again? They know there's only going to be 1 or 2 things because they know you cannot throw the football because Michael Thomas is out. You saw how hard it is for Breeze. You're going to put that guy under center and throw the football? No. It's going to be a run play. Either Kamara or it's him. Stop giving this guy the ball, especially in situations like this. He fumbled the ball. I was excited. I'm like, you know what? Maybe this will teach Sean Payton not to do this anymore. I'm not even a Saints fan, and I can see I can just feel the frustration from those fans. He is my big loser, but you cannot lose that game. You have the ball inside your opponent's half. Momentum has just swung. It's in the 4th quarter. Time is running down. You have possession, and then you fumble it because you decide to get too fancy. Don't get fancy. it's Kamara and it's Breeze's night. One of those two, put the ball in their hands. Stop putting it in Taysom Hill's hands. Sure, you're up by 40. You want to put in a guy like that? Sure, you can run some read options. Not when the game's tied against one of the best teams in the NFL. I'm so tired of seeing Taysom Hill under center doing this. Finally, it caught up to Sean Payton. Hopefully, this turns things around. I can't believe what I was seeing on Sunday night.
Preach.
Can't believe it.
Yeah, you got it there, Luca. Oh my gosh.
So funny.
That was a great talk, guys. So now let's discuss our top 5 teams after watching week 3. I'll be honest, I had to do some rearranging. So number 5 for me is New Orleans. They were at the top last week,
Chantel,
and
you
I
still got
had
them
to.
there?
They're still in the top 5. You gotta take those
I had
guys
to
out.
boost them to
You
number
gotta get
5,
those guys
guys.
out.
Get them out of there.
I have hope. I have hope.
Okay.
Number 4,
Right.
I have Green Bay. They moved up from 5 to 4. I have Baltimore still in a strong 3rd. They've got potential. I think they just had one rough game. Seahawks, a strong 2nd, and Kansas City, number 1, 3rd week in a row going forward. So we'll have to see how the season continues to play out, because I feel like next week is going to be a whole new top 5. So, Steven, get us started on yours.
Yeah, so my top 5 kind of switched from last week. Not really too much, but that top place team, Baltimore, I had to knock them out of my top 5 completely. That loss to Kansas City, that's a lot to take you out. And to me, I do it simply because that's the team that you're going to have to face to win the AFC. If you can't beat them in a regular season game, I got to knock you down a couple notches just to straighten you out. So at number 5 this week, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they had a great game. I think they had a great game. Hey, they're still 3-0. They're still working on both sides of the field. The defense looks great. The offense is slowly carrying along and catching up. It was nice to see Eric Ebron involved out there today on Sunday with him and Big Ben getting a TD together. So they're moving on up. After that, number 4, I got the Buffalo Bills. Not going to say too much. My guy, Josh Allen, as professionally call him. He was doing his work out there, came out, showed out again for another week. Was that 3 weeks in a row? I know he had an interception, but he's still looking like that guy. After that, the Green Bay Packers, Aaron Rodgers, number 3, consistent, keep doing their thing, haven't lost it, even with Devontae Adams out, still out here winning all their games. Looks great to me. Number 2, let that boy Russ cook, baby. Let him cook. He was cooking it. Oh, my God. If you let him cook, do you see what type of meals he makes? He's making gourmet meals on the field. We haven't seen this from Russ, and it's great to see him out there. And finally, number 1, the Kansas City Chiefs. Not going to say too much. Those guys, champions, keeping it going.
I got a similar list to you, Steven. 5 was probably the hardest I've had in a while because, Pittsburgh was there. Do I move Baltimore out? I kind of was thinking about putting Tampa Bay in there. What about Tennessee? And what I ended up leaving with and Luca's going to be excited of this, I put New England there at 5. And the reason was I think Pittsburgh, they have the best defense in football. The teams you've beaten have combined for an 0-9 record. I can't put you there yet. For me, Tennessee, once again, the teams you've beaten, that's a 1-8 record. And again, I believe they probably won by a combined 6 points, which isn't very good for a team who's supposed to be, a high caliber, potential playoff threat. So the reason I put New England here is we just saw the Las Vegas Raiders offense tear up the Saints. And now their offense looks like absolute crap against New England. And I know Cam Newton didn't have his best game. Sure, Rex Burkhead had his best game as a professional football player, but they just look good, man. The defense looks like they're finally clicking a little bit. I know, Russ cooked all over them, but Russ has been cooking on everybody. The way they run the ball is so much different, a different style than what they were last year, obviously with Tom Brady there. And I love it. And I think Josh McDaniels has something brewing there in New England, and they're going to be a solid team. That's why I put them 5. All the way, 4-1 is pretty much chalk. Green Bay, I'm not willing to put them over Buffalo yet, just because the teams they're facing, they're still allowing quite a bit of points. That defense scares me. I want to see them face, a really high caliber offense. Because yes, New Orleans is supposed to be something like that, but we're not really seeing Drew Brees throw downfield too much. Buffalo, man, they look really good. I know their competition hasn't been that great, but you're up 28-3, and you allow LA to come all the way back in. I'm surprised they didn't just roll over and give up the game, and they end up going all the way down the field and scoring, winning. They're up, they're right now 3-0. Allen looks like a stud. Seattle 2. Again, we talked about this last week. The defense is really, really bad, guys, and that's what's going to scare me too as we get to the rest of the season. And 1, Kansas City. Mahomes is insane. He's the best quarterback I think I've ever seen. And now you have Andy Reid and just cooking up plays for him, dude. Come on, this team could win 16 games, man, in the regular season. They're that good.
I'm going to start this off with how, you kind of helped me out on my loser of the week. Preach, baby. Number 5, I got New England there as well. I was thinking to myself, do I put Baltimore there? But, what Steven said, that's the team you got to beat. You need to beat Kansas City. And it would be one thing if they were close in that game. They were not. After the first play, I mean, guys, they didn't even score enough to touchdown. Devin Duvernay took that kickback. They were held to 3 points in the first half. You can't do that against a team that you're supposed to be fighting in your conference with. They didn't look good at all. So that's why I got New England for all the reasons that Nolan said. Guys, they were 1 yard away from being 3-0 and beating the team that we all think is high chances of going to the Super Bowl this season. And, yeah, I know they lost. I'm a big guy. Did they win? No, they didn't win. But it's 1 yard going to depend, that team is this much better than New England. It was 1 yard away. Cam goes outside a bit more. Or maybe we're having a different story. So New England in there at 5. Coming in at number 4, I got Buffalo. Buffalo, the only reason why I have them here is because, I agree with you, Nolan. You know what? They didn't fall under pressure. That's for me. Yeah, they blew the lead, but they still got the job done at the end. Josh Allen looks good. He still needs to work on his turnovers a little bit. Sometimes it's a bit too risky. But I'm like, he's still learning go, and I really like his connection with Diggs and all that. Singletary, he's showing them that, hey, I'm still here. I know Zach Moss is a great rookie, but you know what? Singletary was the guy last year. You could just see the offense is a little bit different, and I kind of like it when Singletary is in there. He breaks a lot of tackles, so I got in there at 4. Number 3, it's the Packers. I gotta give some love to them after I didn't put them in the top 5 last week. To go to New Orleans on the road, momentum was switched. It doesn't matter if Sean Payton screwed up the game or not. They did get the turnover, and they ultimately won that football game. They didn't allow the Saints to get back in the game late. And Aaron Rodgers, man, he still has it. He's playing with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder after they didn't give him any help again in the first round. And that rookie QB, unlike Jalen Hurts, Jordan Love, you're going to be sitting for a while. You are going to be sitting for a while because number 12 down there in Green Bay, he's still got it. And Devontae Adams is not even playing. Take that in. They're used to playing without Devontae Adams, and they're still winning football games. That just goes to show you how great Green Bay is. And the top 2, I'm just going to say just a couple things. Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes. That's all I got to say.
Okay. All right. So, guys, I've got a big question for you. Right now, Russell Wilson leads the early MVP race. So, who is number 2? Steven, you get us started.
I mean, when I really look at it, there's only 3 people or 3 players I can really look at, and all 3 of them are quarterbacks. But I'll stick with one of them. I've been riding with him. I'm going to ride with Josh Allen till the wheels break off. I don't care what anybody says. He can fumble as much as he wants this season. He can throw as many interceptions as he wants as well, but I don't think he's going to throw too many. But I just love the way he's playing out there and the way he has that feel for the game. You heard me call him Jaheim Allen earlier. I just got that vibe with him whenever he's on the field and the way he's playing. He shows me something different, and I love what he brings to the game. I just hope he can stay successful and keep his mind straight. A little bit of here, a little bit of there. Just keep it going, young man. That MVP award could be yours.
I got Josh Allen too, guys. And you think about this is someone whose completion percentage was absolutely terrible his first 2 years, around 57%. Right now it's at about 70%. Second in yards, second in total touchdowns, 7th in completion percentage. His yards per attempt is second in the NFL for someone who is, his yards per attempt was around 5.7 in his first 2 years. He looks like the stud in like the player that all these scouts talked about, and now he's finally developing into that. He's just a step ahead of the Mahomes and the Rodgers right now for me. He's number 2.
I'm going to go a little bit different here. I'm going to go with Patrick Mahomes, guys. What he showed me last night, he's still got it. He's still the guy in this league. All this talk about Russell Wilson, him 14 touchdown passes, The first guy to ever do that in the first 3 weeks. It's still his league. It's still Patrick Mahomes. You showed us that last night, Monday Night Football. I was even saying it all and preaching, I think this is going to be one of the best games we've ever seen in our lifetime. And he just comes in there and says, absolutely not. We're just going to make quick work of these guys like they're absolutely nothing. Patrick Mahomes, he's still in the conversation. He's doing great things. He's like undefeated in September. It's insane. It's just unbelievable what he can do. Patrick Mahomes still up there. Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, they're there too, guys. It's going to be a really tight race down the stretch.
And I agree with you, Luca. Like, I am Patrick Mahomes the whole way. I think if I was to choose a second after week 3, I think I would more so be going with Aaron Rodgers, to be honest. He's been consistently having great games. So it'll be exciting to see what happens week 4. So heading into week 4, guys, let's pick our games, our predictions for week 4. Okay, we're going to do breakdown and score. I'm going to get us started. So I'm picking the Saints versus the Lions. The reason why I picked this game is because if the Saints don't pull out a win against Detroit, I'm going to have to remove them completely from my top 5 pick. I mean, they've got to take this win. I mean, Detroit had a glory game against the Cardinals, and the Saints, lost brutally. So I really, truly believe that the Saints are going to redeem themselves, and they're going to come back and win this game 30-17 against the Detroit Lions.
So for me, I got the next game coming up. I looked at the Cleveland and Dallas game, which I think this could end up being a shootout, guys. I just don't know if Baker Mayfield is going to have enough bullets in his gun to keep up with Dak Prescott and those guys out there. So I think this could turn, if Nick Chubb can't get his running game going and they can't get everything moving on the ground and they have to take it through the air, if I'm Cleveland, I'm a little bit worried about what could happen. But from the looks of it, based on how I'm looking at it, I got the Dallas Cowboys 34-30 over the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, I agree with both of your guys' picks so far. About the Saints, maybe it's a little early. If they lose this game to Detroit and get upset, that might be trouble right away. 1-3, and you still have the Buccaneers who are picking it up. And again, without Michael Thomas right now, the game I was originally going to pick was Tennessee and Pittsburgh. Obviously, the news earlier today, Tennessee 3 players, 5 personnel with COVID-19. We don't know whether the game's going to be pushed back a week or whether it's going to be played Monday night. So I decided to go a different way. And of course, I got to talk about the Vikings. You have an 0-3 Vikings team, an 0-3 Texans team. It's a must-win for both because right now, you've seen the stats. 12% of teams who are 0-2 to start the season make the playoffs. Can you imagine 0-4? That's nearly impossible, guys. Vikings haven't been 0-4 since 2011. Texans, it's been a long time. 2005 was the last time at that. For me, in this game, I think it's going to be more so interesting whoever loses because then you're going to start thinking about the draft. Lots of holes for that Texans team where they could go line, they can get a receiver, focus on defense. If the Vikings are drafting in the top 5, do they take a quarterback? That is going to be a huge, huge question mark, especially with that Kirk Cousins contract. But I've been talking enough about the Vikings. I think they can pull this one out. Their offense, Dalvin Cook, a career-high 181 yards. Justin Jefferson, boy, oh boy. Stephon Diggs, who? Okay, maybe a bit early. But hey, Jefferson looks damn good, guys. Adam Thielen can still do his thing. I'm going to go 31-27 Vikings. Their defense still going to struggle to Deshaun Watson, the magician.
Well, guys, I think you guys know where I'm going with this one. New England and Kansas City. Don't you roll your eyes because it's a good game there, Steven.
It's the game of the week, baby. Maybe the game of the week.
That's it. That's what I'm talking about. You know what? A team that a lot of people probably didn't think would be doing as good against a team that everyone probably thinks they're going to repeat. So it's just, I think for right now, the way both teams are playing, high win for Kansas City. Of course, New England, they're playing great. I'm going to do it. I think the Pats can do it. Call me crazy. Let me ask you guys a question before I make my prediction. Did you honestly think New England would be in that game against Seattle? No, you did not. You probably didn't think they'd be 1 yard away, especially being down, by 10 points in the fourth quarter. I think they could do this. Bill Belichick, he's seen Patrick Mahomes before. Kansas City has never really seen Cam Newton play in New England. I don't know. I'm just saying stuff because I think the New England's going to win. I'm going to go New England 33-28. I think they could do this. and I think it's going to be a statement win. The Pats aren't going anywhere, baby. Just because number 12 left us doesn't mean they're still one of the best teams in the league. New England's going to take this home. And if they lose, hey, they lose. I kind of expected to. So.
I like that.
All right, Luca. Well, you are a Patriots fan to the end. Guys, it was so great chatting with you. That concludes our episode for today. Thank you so much for joining us on Touchdown with True Sports, brought to you by Pickups, your everything on demand delivery app. We'll see you next week.